Members of the Cherokee tribe reportedly boiled sassafras leaves to produce a tea intended to purify the blood and address a variety of ailments including skin diseases, joint inflammation, and fever. The plant was also ground into a paste to treat wounds and sores, and the root bark was used to treat digestive issues. The leaves were often used for healing poultices and in tea preparations or as flavoring in food, while the root bark was the main source of its medicinal properties. Root beer was also derived from the tree's root. Kangaroo Island is Australia's third largest island. Its glossy black cockatoos have been one of Australia's conservation success stories. Thanks to a recovery program that began in 1995, their numbers in the wild increased from 150 to 400. Scientists responded by downgrading the bird's status from critically endangered with extinction to just endangered, but that all changed in January. Now this bird is part of an unfolding horror story. Fires have raged across nearly 50% of Kangaroo Island. Flames destroyed the habitat for most of the birds. It's unclear how many glossy black cockatoos survived. For those that did, food may now be scarce. Glaciers that form on mountains creep downhill. Big ice sheets on land, like the one covering most of Antarctica, move too. These ooze or slide outward from their centers. Most glaciers move at a crawl, advancing just a few centimeters each day. But some move up to 50 meters in a day. That's half the length of a professional football field. Such huge masses of ice grinding across the land leave their mark. They can carry or push soil, rocks, and big boulders. They can erode the land and gouge deep valleys. Dents and divots left by glaciers have filled with water to form lakes, such as the Great Lakes that border the United States and Canada. The biggest difference between jelly, jam, and preserves is how much of the outward original fruit is used to make them. Jelly has the smoothest consistency and is made by crushing a fruit and discarding the solid, chunky leftovers. This leaves only the fruit juice, which is then mixed with a substance called pectin and heated to form the gelatinous spread. Jam is similarly made by crushing a fruit, but this spread leaves in most of the solid pieces of the fruit's fibers to give it a spreadable consistency. Of the three, preserves use the most of the fruit and are simply chopped smaller pieces of fruit that are mixed with sugar to keep them fresh and combined with a syrup or jam to contain them. Nutrition is a critical part of health and development. Better nutrition is related to improved infant, child, and maternal health, stronger immune systems, safer pregnancy and childbirth, lower risk of non-communicable diseases, such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease, and longevity. Healthy children learn better. People with adequate nutrition are more productive and can create opportunities to gradually break the cycles of poverty and hunger. Malnutrition, in every form, presents significant threats to human health. Today the world faces a double burden of malnutrition that includes both undernutrition and overweight, especially in low and middle-income countries. Who is providing scientific advice and decision-making tools that can help countries take action to address all forms of malnutrition to support health and well-being for all, at all ages? While the literal or direct language is mostly taken at face value, figurative language has hidden meanings, not just the surface level of what words are trying to convey. The types of figurative language largely depend on the figure of speech we decide to use with it. Considering there are far too many to list, we will be focusing on some of the more important ones and give explanations for them. Various literary devices used in figurative language are typically divided into groups according to what they're trying to do. Some are used to emphasize something, while others are trying to point out a resemblance or a relationship, while some are just figures of sound. There are also ones that can be classified as errors, and then various verbal games. Tennis is a game in which two opposing players or pairs of players use tautly strung rackets to hit a ball of specified size, weight, and bounce over a net on a rectangular court. Points are awarded to a player or team whenever the opponent fails to correctly return the ball within the prescribed dimensions of the court. Organized tennis is played according to rules sanctioned by the International Tennis Federation, the world governing body of the sport. Tennis originally was known as lawn tennis, and formally still is in Britain, because it was played on grass courts by Victorian gentlemen and ladies. It is now played on a variety of surfaces. The modern game of tennis is played by millions in clubs and on public courts. First, it's naive to say you can't use a generalization about a class of people unless it's universally valid. We use such stereotypes all the time and would be paralyzed without them. Second, working out the ways in which the use of a stereotype can go wrong is important, as is determining when some alternative, like individualized testing, is appropriate. Many generalizations, like those based on race or gender or religion, are rightly subject to special scrutiny because of their historical misuse. But even here, it would be an error to say that use of a stereotype is wrong just because there exist exceptions to the generalization upon which it is based. Scholars of industrial relations attempt to explain variations in the conditions of work, the degree and nature of worker participation in decision-making, the role of labor unions and other forms of worker representation, and the patterns of cooperation and conflict resolution that occur among workers and employers. These patterns of interaction are then related to the outputs of organizations. These outputs span the interests and goals of the parties to the employment relationship, ranging from employee job satisfaction and economic security to the efficiency of the organization and its impact on the community and society. Fully managed cloud services take care of the non-trivial and resource-intensive operational aspects, so valuable teams are free to focus on driving new applications and innovations. With it, cloud administrators can spin up a highly complex, fault-tolerant global setup with just a few button clicks. In the past, it would have taken countless IT team hours to do just one task, such as set up a replicated database across 2 continents, then manage availability while troubleshooting network issues or hardware failures.